Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and I have been your host covering the Jacksonville Jaguars every single day since August 2019 for On SI. And we are continuing to march forward to another offseason together. As always, you can find our 100% free 24/7 boots on the ground coverage of the Jacksonville Jaguars every single day on social media when you follow us at Jaguars on SI on Facebook and Twitter. You can also find us at www.si.com/NFL/Jaguars. Hello, folks, and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. I'm John Shipley. Today, we are previewing the third OTA practice that Jaguars media has seen thus far. It will be OTA number 7, and we are seeing it bright and early Monday morning as opposed to an afternoon practice. I actually think that's a fantastic idea. I'm completely in favor of it as somebody who has fried like an absolute lobster on the practice field this offseason. All right, folks, so we've gone over a few times some of the things that we're looking for at OTAs. Like I've said, it's a setting where there are no real reps that maybe translate 100% to a game rep, but you can see a lot of athletic ability, movement skills, instincts. This is where, in my opinion, a lot of physical traits come out when you can tell if a guy has the speed, the size, the length, the quickness, the explosiveness, or if he has the technical proficiency to make up for if he misses any of that stuff. So, to me, while certainly the team gets more value from it, I think, because they're still evaluating, because they're evaluating how guys are learning, how they're digesting the information they're presenting, how they're reacting to it on the field, how they're reacting to certain looks. It's definitely important from that context. So I think it's definitely more important from the team, point of view. But clearly have been some things, that I've been trying to keep an eye on. The things that go into the 7th OTA practice that I'm particularly, going to look at is Joshua Cephas has to be one of them, in my opinion. Liam Cohen was asked about the young receivers last Monday and was essentially asked, after those top 4 guys, who's kind of standing out right now? And Cephas was one of the first names he mentioned, and he mentioned it unprompted. Nobody said, how's Josh Cephas looking, etc. He said that Josh Cephas has done a good job in the offseason program. Cephas obviously, had a lot of hype when he signed as an undrafted free agent because a lot of people saw him as a very draftable prospect after a extremely productive and prolific college career. So last year when he was, a practice squad player, didn't get many reps, didn't really shine in the preseason, etc. To me, it was just a young receiver learning the NFL on a team that simply wasn't doing very well. I don't think you can judge him too much for that. Now that he's in a new scheme, he has a whole year of NFL learning, training, etc. under his belt. He very well could be the guy who takes that number 5 receiver role as opposed to one of the 6 undrafted free agents they brought in. Eli Pankel, to me, has been the most impressive probably of the undrafted free agents I've seen so far. J.J. Jones had a really nice practice at rookie minicamp. It's been a little quieter the last couple practices. Cam Camper, great name, by the way. He made a really nice play on, I believe it was the second day of OTAs. Really nice play downfield. Did a good job. Nick Mullins gave him a good ball, but he did a good job tracking it, did a good job, high pointing it and coming down with it and scoring a touchdown on a really explosive play. So, some guys have definitely started, I'd say maybe to separate themselves a little bit. And those probably be the 3, Cephas, Camper, And then, what I've seen from Pinkel so far, or Pinkel, it hasn't exactly been like, he's obviously a bigger receiver. I think like a 4.35 40 at Duke. It was something, crazy like that. You would think with his profile that, 4.33. That's, absolutely stellar time for a guy with his size and his build. He's kind of built like, and I'm not comparing them as players because actually, from what I've seen of him so far, he doesn't look like he's similar to who he was as a player. But I'm just making sure I'm not completely wrong. All right, 6'2", 221 compared to Eli Pinkel size. Okay, so he's not. He's an inch taller, about 15 pounds lighter. But reminds me, quite frankly, an awful lot of Dante Moncrief, just in terms of his physical build, some of his physical attributes. Maybe you can get Dante Moncrief in the undrafted free agency. That's fantastic. That's stellar. So, I haven't seen really that big deep ball explosiveness plays by him, but I have seen, him get open, I'd say, pretty consistently underneath in the middle of the field. He's made some tough catches. He's made some plays that has gotten, the offense animated and gotten the defensive sideline, animated. Like I said, there's definitely been some competition. He's been, one of the big pieces of that. Other than that, what else I'll be looking for is I'm interested in seeing who else is getting reps at edge, other than obviously Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, and Emmanuel Ogbah. Those guys are very clearly locked onto the roster. And even beyond that, are clearly locked into their roles. Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker are two of their best players. They're going to start. Emmanuel Ogbah is going to, give them a breather, give them a guy they can rotate with. Oddly, the Eric Armstead role last year, the Dewan Smoot role the year before, and then the Smoot and Arden Key role the year before that. Beyond them, I'm not sure how their, edge room really shakes out. You would expect them to take 4. Miles Cole, if I had to guess, is probably a guy that this coaching staff and this regime would like from a physical standpoint. It really seems like they want, not bigger edge guys in the vein of the Jaguars playing defensive tackles at edge last year, but bigger defensive ends than, subsized 3-4 outside linebackers who are rushing a passer. Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker are big guys. Miles Cole definitely has that. He has the size, he has the strength, he has the length. He's made some good plays against the run, before when given reps, whether that's in the preseason, few times in the regular season. But, he was really unproductive as a pass rusher in college, and it kind of felt like he was set up to fail last year. He was a 7th-round player taken purely for his physical traits, and the hope is you can turn those traits into something as you develop him. The Jaguars didn't give him any time to develop. He was asked to play a role right away, and he didn't make an impact as a pass rusher, but I think the staff could definitely use a guy like him. Beyond him, BJ Green's an interesting guy. He, from University of Colorado, kind of a unique build for an edge. He's a shorter guy, really stocky. It seems like he could kind of be that kind of change-up pass rusher. Obviously Josh Hines-Allen wins in all kind of ways. Trayvon, is a big imposing force. Emmanuel Ogbah is a big guy. BJ Green potentially, I think, if developed and if given enough chances and if he shines at some point in the preseason, can be that guy who just his first step, explosiveness, natural speed, and athleticism, maybe he can be your change of pace, speed rusher off the edge. So those are things I'll be looking for at OTAs on Monday. Please let me know what you guys think when you subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other podcast platforms at the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. You can also find us on YouTube at Sports Videos on SI. Thank you, guys. I'll be back next time.